Every year, Cannes gets louder. This year, step away from the noise. The Nikkei Financial Times Tea House is a space to look closer. A space shaped by journalism, conversations, and the patterns shaping the world today. Find a place for ideas, a place for exchange, a place to step out of the noise. Explore the full programme at ft.com/ftcan.
My favourite one of all, because I'm talking to Alex Norstrom, who's co-CEO of Spotify. Welcome to the session. It is my favourite, because I was thinking about this on the way over here. I literally love Spotify, because it's like I'm listening to it all the time, my family are listening to it all the time. I think often you come into this conversation with you as a financial journalist, I'm looking at user numbers and metrics and this and that and the other, and you kind of forget how important Spotify has been, right, for so many people. How many users have you got now?
My team says to me that I shouldn't be rounding up in the way I do, but typically I'm saying we're close to 1 billion. It's more like three-fourths of a billion.
Yeah. Well, it's not far off. You know, it's in the sites now. You can get that. Which is remarkable, right? And across the world and all the rest of it. So it's transformed how we consume music, we listen to music, and now you're moving into lots of other exciting areas like advance and tickets, and we're going to come to that. So first of all, I just want to get your sense. Actually, let's start by congratulating you. You're now the co-CEO of Spotify, and you've been co-CEO since, I think, near the start of the year.
Start of the year, yes.
Yeah, and taking over from Daniel.
Yes.
He's moved up to be chairman. I think.
Yes, big shoes to fill.
Yeah. And you're working as a co-CEO. How are you finding the new life? Because you've been there a long time anyway, so you know Spotify.
I have. First of all, thank you for saying that this is your favorite session. And thanks for inviting me here, and it's good to see everyone. I think it's going to be a fun session. Yeah. So our founder, Daniel Ek, and the rest of the board have been very thoughtful about the transition of Daniel over to executive chairman, and us, Gustav and I, taking over as co-CEOs. And they have been, not just in the few months leading up to the transition of this year, earlier this year, like you said, but also in the past few years. Right? So we've been discussing this, and we have been thinking about potential pitfalls, and so we've taken a lot of time. And so it's really sort of the fact that we've been in the job with training wheels for actually more than 3 years. And so that's felt like a very sort of privileged position to be in, because you get a lot of time to warm up with a ton of the stakeholders that you get to interface with when you're in the real job, so to speak. So by the end of last year, by the end of 25, all three of us felt like, okay, we're ready now. Let's do this. So formally, I guess we announced it a little bit earlier, and then stepped into the roles in 26. And the big difference is probably the more an emotional one than a logical one. The emotional one is, whereas before we always had Daniel as the big shield, we now, the buck stops with us, and we have to deliver. And we have to sort of own up to all stakeholders around there, and not just the sort of operating machine of Spotify, but also investors and rights holders, and the continuum of Spotify.
And it feels like Spotify it's moving at pace, right? I mean, it feels like you're moving faster than ever in terms of new development, new products, and all the rest of it. But so to remind the audience, how long have you been at Spotify for?
It's now close to 16 years, so 16. It's been a while.
Yeah. So I mean, one of the earlier employees, then, basically, because you're coming from a startup from Sweden and moving into what it is now. I mean, in the last few years, I mean, what have you seen in terms of how consumers are changing, how they use Spotify, what they want from Spotify, right? Because every time I open it, it feels like something's different's happened.
Yeah. No, for us, selfishly, it's been about figuring out how to gain really financial independence. So this started around 4 years ago, when we saw that the markets were going to change, and capital wasn't going to be abundant. At least it would come at a higher rate, so to speak. And we started thinking about the investment mode that we had been in for close to 15 years, saying, hey, okay, so we're not going to rely more on the market. We're going to sort of stand strong on our own legs, and for that to happen, we need to do a couple of different things. And and the plan we put the plan together and set to sale. So 3 years later, we're now generating 3 billion euros in free cash flow. We're growing at a very decent clip of 15% top line wise. We've expanded our gross margins with six percentage points over the last 3 years. So we feel very sort of encouraged about where we are, our position, our business position, so to speak. And then if you sort of take it back to what about the users and subscribers and our value proposition? Well, in the last 3 years, in that plan, we had specifically said that we want to really prove to the world, not just that we can stand on our own legs, but we also want to prove that we actually can do more than music in a sustainable way. So we made sure to reposition and clean up podcast, take all the learnings that we had prior to these 3 years and just figure out podcasting and how to further grow it. And then also adding, of course, audiobooks in the past 3 years have been a tremendous experience. Remarkably, we're now 25% of the market in the US very quickly.
Amazing.
So it happened in 2 years.
Yeah.
And all of that, taking it back to the sort of user and subscriber context, has been about adding value to our users.
Yeah.
So we're a subscriptions business primarily, and so it's all about adding value back to users. And then potentially also over time monetizing by raising price and then sort of re-adding value and then monetize. So it's sort of like a sine curve that you and I've talked about before.
Yeah. But you've spoken before about the idea of time well spent. It's not about like a quantum of time or the extent of time. It's about actually making sure that time is good time, right?
Yeah,
I mean, how do you sort of define? And that is a concept, but it's also a business strategy.
Yes, I love this question. So I mean, we're old enough, or at least I'm old enough to remember what it was like 30 years ago. And typically when we talk about Spotify, it's a great product, right? So, but internally we talk about ourselves much more as a series of user experiences. And if you think about the defining user experience for that generation 30 years ago, a generation from which I come from, it was your choice of a browser. You either installed Netscape or Internet Explorer if you had a PC, and then you went on home pages, on websites. That was undeniably the concept that captures everyone's imagination. 15 years later, the smartphone came around, and one of the defining user experiences was the newsfeed, invented by Facebook, of course, famously.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to today, in 2026, it's undeniable that there are two user experiences that are capturing the hearts and minds of the world. One is the chatbot, and the other one is the vertical feed paradigm. Both powered, obviously, by intelligence. And so if you think about what's really happening is that as we iteratively and really quickly improve these algorithms and intelligence engines behind these two experiences, on the vertical feed paradigm side, you basically are engaging in lots and lots of scrolling, and soon it'll start to almost self-scroll or self-swipe.
It's potentially unhealthy, right? This is not the healthiest relationship potentially.
Yeah, and eventually you'll just end up in that pool of dopamine swimming around and feeling good about yourself.
Well, maybe that.
Yeah, fundamentally we think it's misaligned. This is a misaligned AI. It's misaligned with consumers and subscribers' long-term preference, but it's aligned with the short-term, very short-term experience. It's like a candy-like, slot machine-like type of experience. So Gustav and I, whom you've met, my co-CEO, we want to take Spotify in a different direction. We want for users and subscribers to actually spend time, spend energy with our user experience, taking care of their playlist, but also figuring out feature sets, figuring out how it works. It's not very easy to figure out, for instance, how Jam works. It's not just a swipe. You actually have to engage in it. Jam is our social listening feature on the platform. And mixing tools also, you have to spend a little bit of time. Maybe it takes you 15 minutes to understand it. And listening to an audiobook is also a commitment. It has a start, middle, and an end. We all know how it is to get through the middle of a book. I mean, it takes a little bit of commitment. You don't go 15 seconds and I leave the book and you're finished. But the whole point is, as you go 90 minutes of maybe creating a playlist, listening to some music, some Black Eyed Peas maybe.
Well, potentially.
Perhaps you're catching up on your favorite episode of a podcast.
Yeah.
Perhaps you're listening a little bit to a book. The point is, 90 minutes later, you'll come out of it feeling, wow, I do not regret spending this time with Spotify. I actually feel a little bit better from that session. That, we think, is time well spent.
Yeah.
And to your point on business strategy, this is also highly compatible with us being primarily a subscriptions company. Right? Because what it is you want people to feel that they value the time on Spotify. If they don't, they will unsubscribe. If they do, they will engage more in a healthy way, and they will prolong their lifetime with Spotify, which is beneficial to the company.
Yeah, no, well, because you know that dopamine hit of social media is very attractive, and I imagine for you could very easily sort of lean into that as well.
Yes.
So you're training a platform which, but I mean, because remind me, how many subscribers do you have versus non-subscribers, which is the ad tier, the people?
So we're closing in on 300 million subscribers.
Okay, well, yeah.
It's not that's not the official number. What is the official earnings? Say again. 293.
293. Closing on 300 is fine. I think we can round up on that one.
Yes.
But there is a sense that you are adding those products. You've got Mix as well, right? Which is
correct.
The audiobooks and so on. And now you're moving, you know, and you described this in your Investor Day, you're moving from curation to recommendation to generation now, which is, I think, another step towards that engagement with the consumer, right? Because if consumers are making music, that's a whole different relationship with Spotify than they used before. So explain how that works at the moment, and it's new as well. So tell me a bit about the take up and what the reaction's been so far.
Yeah, and fundamentally, we believe the future of entertainment is interactive. Right? So you talked about these different eras of media and music, and so one of the benefits of having been at Spotify for a long time is that you get to see the evolution of the different eras. And the first era, you know, we're sort of touching on is obviously curation, right? We build product so that users can organize their music into playlists. We engage in hiring editorial staff so they can help amplify and, you know, promote discovery, and then there's more playlists being curated and you know, put on our platform. And then we've seen that evolve over the years into more of a space where we can actually create a powerful enough algorithm to actually take guesses. Like, we think that this is the place that you will like. So you basically saw us moving from curation to recommendation. And the recommendation era basically has lasted for probably like a decade. And now in the most recent years, we're clearly entering into the generation era. So we're moving from curation, recommendation through to generation. And what's very palpable with the generation era is that, you know, there's this opportunity for us to give more control back to users. So instead of us taking guesses, we can take guesses with much higher precision, because for the first time ever, users can now actually talk to the software. I think Will was mentioning this.
Yeah.
You know, the language models has given us that, and you know, I think there are roughly 50 million developers in the world, 40 professional, 10 amateurs. Those have been exclusively the ones that have been able to talk to software and change software and take control of the software. Now we're giving that to, in theory, 8 billion people. So in terms of, you know, sort of feature sets and products within Spotify, we've already started rolling out some of these. You've seen us do prompted playlist and taste profile, and so the easiest example here is to say, hey, you know, Spotify has more or less like perfected the algorithm for me in the past 10 years in terms of, you know, guessing what kind of hip hop music I want to listen to.
Yeah.
Right? But, you know, every now and then I just have this whim. Tomorrow I just want to listen to Sade. Yeah. All of it. I don't want anything else be recommended to me. I want all of the different Sade eras. I want podcasts that, you know, interviews Sade. I want books about Sade.
Yeah.
There's no way for us to be able to guess something.
That's never happened to anyone in the world. I'm pretty sure, but there's much like Sade.
We're all unique. We're all unique. Yeah. So it just opens up for so much more, like you know, lovely consumer experiences when you sort of invite users to take more control of their experience.
I mean, because there is that kind of balance between someone taking control and giving it to the algorithm to control over, right? And like, I mean, that must be quite difficult to refine. Where that point is, where you say, actually, we don't want the algorithm to be taking over this entire platform. We need to have the consumer in control of the situation. And that's a kind of, again, a conceptual moment, I guess, for you.
Yeah, I mean, I want to take it to like what we think is a healthy version of that.
Yeah.
And there's been this long-running study in the U.S. I think it's, you know, they've been asking the same question for 100 years, and it's how do you spend your time, right? And a subset of the questions is about how often do you go to a festivity or to a party or a dinner party, and it counts also if you're hosting. So, and the data point from 2002 until now, it's pretty clear that it's not been stable. So it's, you know, there are two options here. Either it's gone up or gone down. What do you think?
Going up.
It's gone down.
It's gone down.
It's gone down. It's gone down. And it's gone down by 50%.
Wow, okay.
So Americans spend 50% less time going to parties, inviting people home to dinner parties, and so on. And what's more curious is that the younger cohorts are doing it even less. So I think it's 70% less 20 years later.
Yeah.
Which is kind of remarkable, right? So what's going on? And you would think of this as it's pretty dark what's going on here, because that just generates a bunch of loneliness. But there's light in the tunnel.
Yeah.
Because for the first time, we're also seeing the aggregate time spent on smartphones in the past 20 years has just been accumulating and increasing, right, over the years. But for the first time in Q4 of last year, it's starting to plateau and come down a little bit. And the driving cohort is the younger one. So there is an active desire to actually have a healthy relationship with technology. So it's not just us being the purveyors of this philosophy, it's also that we're seeing that this is coming towards us as well.
And you're leaning into this a little bit, right? So we're talking about earlier about how Cannes Lions is as busy as it's ever been, right? People want to meet people are spending time at different drinks parties or whatever else, but it's about talking and convening. And Spotify itself has moved into the tickets business now, which I thought was really interesting, because I've actually always thought, long time thought, as whenever you get those end of year wraps and it says you've been listening to 1 million minutes of Hot Chips, which is normally my thing. Why doesn't someone say, well, Hot Chips playing down the road, you should get priority tickets? Then you've done it, so which is great, by the way. And that's a recent innovation. It's about moving into the event space, moving into the people space, I suppose.
Also a trend that we've been observing and sort of discussing a lot internally.
Yeah.
And it's pretty clear now that something happened in the past couple of years, whereas like in the last 10 years or even longer, 15 years, what happened online was what captured the zeitgeist of everyone, right? And now in the last 2 years, it's sort of flipped. So it really is what happens offline that drives what's going on online. Like, and because it's like what goes viral is typically some concert moment or some interaction or some funny thing that happened in the real world. So we've been thinking a lot about what is the physical manifestation of Spotify. What is the offline manifestation of Spotify? We want to create that product because we want the user and subscriber to traverse between these two worlds. That's Spotify for us in the future. And so as part of that, we believe in user-to-user interaction. We've called it multiplayer. But what we really mean is that we want to create these experiences where you can come together. And we want to do it in a way that's undeniably Spotify, that we can uniquely do. So behind this new sort of addition to premium is also the fact that we think we can bring the right audience to the right artists, to the right podcasters, and potentially even to authors doing readings, right? So, So a couple of weeks ago, we brought Olivia Rodrigo to Barcelona, and the audience that we invited, the 3,000 or 4,000 people, was not just the people that listen to Olivia on a monthly basis. It was not only a monthly basis and only daily basis. It was not only monthly, daily basis, but also an hour per day. It was not only monthly, daily, an hour per day. It was a monthly, daily, hour, an hour per day, and having listened to her entire catalog. From before.
Super fans.
Super fans, right? And so when you put this
possibly my son. My son loves it.
Possibly, he was maybe there. I don't know.
I really love to be there.
Yes. And so when you sort of you create these like unique, ephemeral, like very very magical experiences. And what we do is we record that, of course, and we put that back to 750 million users on the platform to enjoy. So that's the sort of physical manifestation that we'd like to sort of bring seamlessly between online and offline.
We're slightly running out of time, but I'm going to end on a question around the Universal deal, which has got a lot of attention as well. So, for people watching from remotely, this is and in the audience, this was a deal which allows people to remix music from artists under the Universal record label. And a lot of people reacted like, "Oh my God, what does that mean for creativity? And what does it mean for the artists?" Tell us, what was the inspiration behind this, and where do you think it leads? It's interesting.
First of all, I fully agree with what Will said in the session prior. I think it may have even been him who said it. Like and the question I typically get, sometimes from investors, sometimes from people in the industry, is like, "Oh, AI, is that going to kill music?" Well, actually, that question has been asked, it's not a novel question, it's been asked many, many times over the years. Right? So in the 50s and 60s, there may have been a bunch of jazz guys sitting around saying, "Hey, the electric guitar is going to kill music." but it didn't. It gave us rock and roll.
Yeah.
And then, 15, 20 years later, you saw people complaining about, scratched up vinyls and like, sampling and drum machines. That's gonna kill music. Gave us hip hop and R&B and rap, of course. And then more lately, it's been a lot about like synthesizers and computers. Like this time, it's surely going to be, better music. Gave us dance and club music, huge genres, right? So I think an interesting way to ask the question is actually, hey, like what is AI going to give us as a form of creativity leverage? Like what are the new genres that are going to be spawned? And it's a very interesting time we're heading into.
Yeah. Have you seen many remixes so far? Have you launched that actually?
So on the deal, like it's a first of a kind landmark deal that we did with Universal Music Group and Universal Music Publishing Group.
And one of their first big deals in this area as well.
Absolutely so, and they are near and dear partners of ours, and it's really and it's not exclusionary. So we're working on other deals as well, of course. But it's really the first time that users and subscribers can legally play around with music. So it's the first form of sort of interaction with music, obviously with consent from participating rights holders and musicians and artists, of course. And it's also a first when it comes to artists being able to really monetize AI and be part of sort of the AI tailwind. So it's a fantastic opportunity to just create art and be part of like this playing around with art and having sort of art be rediscovered and so on through users' hands.
And the artists are happy?
They're happy.
Because that's the creativity question, isn't it?
Yes, they're happy, and we have, and I think they're happy because we have committed to 3 principles, and it's consent, number 1, and number 2 is credit. So all credit will go back to the original work and artists, and obviously also not just credit, but compensation, of course.
Crucial.
Yeah. And when you get those things, and you take care and you get those things right, and you have everyone lining up behind you and together with you, I think this is going to be an unstoppable value proposition.
Yeah. No, well, having been to some of your events, you can see the magic of music and people and technology all in one place, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. As I say, the Spotify service. But thank you so much for joining us, Alex.
Thank you for inviting
me. From my panelists, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.